Hey everybody, Hank Linderman here. Sorry about that. I started going live on the computer and it's unpredictable. I can't seem to get this to work properly at all times. And if you had any idea how much that irritated me, I've still got a smile on my face. That's all that matters. Hi everybody, I'm Hank Linderman. I'm running for Congress. Hi Barbara, glad you're here. Running for Congress here in Kentucky's 2nd District. If you don't know where that is, that's just south of Louisville. Bullitt County on down to Bowling Green and Owensboro, and we're going to talk about Owensboro a little bit more. Hi, Mark. Owensboro, which runs, and then you go all the way to the east of the district and you get to Danville. So today is Friday, June 12th, and I've got to start up my notes here because I had all sorts of stuff ready to go. Hi, Roy, how are you? And I'll get a look at this stuff here right now. Whoops. Anyway, today is June 12th, and one of the things about June 12th that's interesting is today is Happy Loving Day. Hi, Bill. Bill McNichol is here, by the way, and Bill is part of our social media team, and we really want to be ready to share our message as far and wide as possible, because I believe that if we can make a difference here in Kentucky. This is where the battle for the rest of the country is going on. It's here. Hi, Rain. I'm glad you're here. Rain Sessions is here. Mary is here. I'm so glad you all made it. The 2nd District is important because this is where the fight for the soul of the country is going on. It's right here. This is... you know, some of the attitudes and political positions that are very present here in the 2nd District don't even exist in other parts of the country. So, for example, in California, they think of themselves as very diverse. Hi, Nancy, how are you? Hi, Mike, how are you? The idea is that in places like California or New York, they think they've got very diverse opinions, but one of the dominant political philosophies just doesn't exist really in those places, and that political philosophy shows up here. And we're going to get to that in a minute. But let's first talk about, we talked about the, hi Terry, how are you? We talked about the stock market yesterday, and remember we talked about why isn't the stock market figuring out that we're kind of in trouble here because of the virus. Well, yesterday the stock market dropped over 1,800 points, dropped almost 7 points, had their worst day in 3 months, since March. So the stock market is pretty much aware that we've got some problems here, but stock market also is quite aware that we will bail them out. I hope we don't have to do it again very soon, but the run up in the stock market is partially due to the idea that they believe they'll be saved by the rest of us. And how many times we're going to have to do that, I don't know. My opinion, we've got to save folks more close to the bottom of the ladder. We use trickle down all the time. Trickle down is great for the folks at the top of the ladder, and some of it does trickle down, but it never makes it all the way down. And we've been going along with trickle down for what, 4 decades, 4 cancerous decades, depending on your point of view. We need to try a lot more trickle up, and obviously that would work. It would be a big help because people at the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder, if you give them money, they'll spend it, and it'll go right back into the economy. And you know what? If we raised wages for people who work, the idea that $7.25 an hour is going to be a way that you can make a living, you can't make a living on $7.25 an hour. And even $15 an hour, we were talking about $15 an hour back in 2018, and even then I was thinking, I don't know if that's enough. But let's say we raised the minimum wage to $15 an hour, that would also raise taxes, because people who make more money have to pay more in taxes. So that would be a great way for us to help pay for some of the things we need to pay for. All right. Today is National Loving Day, and I hadn't really heard of this before, but it's the day that all the laws that banned interracial marriage and stuff were declared unconstitutional. And I'm going to read a little bit of the text if I can draw this up right now. This was commemorates the anniversary of the 1967 United States Supreme Court decision, Loving versus Virginia. It struck down all anti-miscegenation laws. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. But anti-miscegenation laws were U.S. state laws banning interracial marriage. Well, those were made illegal in 1967 on June 12th, so we celebrate that. Hi, Joanne Bland. I'm glad you're here. So today is Happy Loving Day, and so we celebrate this because it's important these days that we get rid of this bit of discrimination or this bit of inequality, and we've got so much more to do. In fact, I was talking with a bunch of people last night, and I said, it's the inequality, stupid, which is a variation of Bill Clinton's thought. It's the, I guess his campaign director said to him, it's the economy, stupid. That's what mattered when Bill Clinton was running for president. I think now it's the inequality. And it's social inequality and economic inequality. That is at the root of all of our problems. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Now, I don't have it with me right here, so I'm going to have to read off. I had my information all set up on the computer, and the computer extended an improper digit to me. So, if you do not want to go to the polls in Kentucky on June 23rd, that's Election Day, is coming up very soon for the primary. You want to get an absentee ballot, and this is a very unusual time because we're allowed to vote absentee this time. You don't even have to have a reason other than you just want to vote absentee. So you can vote by mail, but you're going to have to go to govoteky.com before June 15th and fill that out. Now, I'm probably going to go and show up at the polls. They're just down the street from me, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. But if you're at all concerned about showing up at the polls, get on it, Kentuckians. You're going to have to go and get that absentee ballot mailed to you, and you need to do that by June 15th. You only got 3 more days. So really, you only got today and Monday, and that's it. So get out and do it. Now let's talk about voting. The way that we vote, we just had a primary in Georgia that was a meltdown, honestly, just a disaster. And so The Guardian has a story, the headline says, "We're going to have a catastrophe. U.S. faces a November election fiasco." And that is completely true. We're facing a full-on election fiasco. And there's even a group, according to Common Dreams, you can go to Common Dreams, and they've got a story called "New Campaign Prepares Mass Mobilization Should Trump Refuse to Leave Willingly If Defeated in November." So this is how far it's come, that we're going to have to take to the streets to be sure that we get to vote. In fact, I think we're going to see really long lines in black neighborhoods. We're going to see really long lines where young people vote, so in college university towns, college towns. It's going to be difficult to vote. Now, if you live in a wealthy white subdivision, it's going to be no problem. You're going to show up and vote. It'll take you 5 minutes. Hi, Joe. I'm glad you're here. You're not going to have a problem if you live in a wealthy white neighborhood. But the rest of us may have some real difficulties, and you may have to wait in line a long time. And I think you should probably plan on it. Plan on having to wait. I'm not talking about the primary. I think we'll be okay here in Kentucky on the primary. But come November 3rd, when we all want to get out and vote, I think we're going to see ridiculously long lines, and I think we're going to have to organize, because you need to stay in line. Once you're in that line, especially as it gets towards the end of the time that you're allowed to vote, if you lose your place in line, if you leave, even to go to the bathroom or to go get some food or something and then come back, they may not let you vote. So we're going to have to find ways to make our voting secure. Now, a little bit of an exercise is, what happens if President Trump decides not to leave? I'm convinced now, and Joe Biden apparently is convinced as well, that the military will step in and they will not keep President Trump in office if it looks like he has lost. I think that the events of the last 10 days, with the military stepping up and saying, no, we're not going to use the military to bring violent force against peaceful protesters, I think that was a shot across the bow for President Trump. So I think he knows, I hope he understands. You're not going to be able to just claim, well, I actually won and this is unfair and the Democrats cheated and I'm not leaving. It's not going to work. But what is possible, by the way, and Mary Richardson's pointing out something, I can't see your entire comment, Mary, but get used to not having election day. We're going to have election week. It's going to take quite some time for us to count mail-in votes. And in the past, sometimes mail-in votes haven't counted. So we're headed towards a crisis. One possibility is that the election is just completely thrown out or just simply doesn't occur. And that would be a real crisis. However, it appears that the way this would be handled would be in the favor of Democrats, because normally what happens if we no longer have a president, well, it moves to the vice president. If the vice president isn't available or is incapacitated, it moves to the Speaker of the House. That would be Nancy Pelosi in this case. And after that, I believe it moves to the majority leader in the Senate. But in a circumstance where there's not an election, something very different appears to happen. Now, don't take this as gospel. I'm still working it out myself and discussing it. Mary Richardson says more like an election month. Well, get ready. We've been through this before where it takes days to find out, days and way too long to figure out what happened. Anyway, if we don't have the election, come, I believe, January 20th, Donald Trump is no longer the president. But instead of going to the vice president, well, Mike Pence won't be vice president anymore. Then it would move, you would think, to the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. Well, that won't work either because she's up for election this year. She won't be Speaker of the House anymore. Then you'd think it would move to the majority leader in the Senate. Well, that's Mitch McConnell. He's up for election. So what it appears will happen, hi Beth, glad you're here. What it appears will happen is that the majority party in the Senate will get to elect a Senate president pro tem, and they can kind of choose anyone. And because there are more Republican seats up for re-election this year, it would go to the Democrats. So hang on to your hats, folks. This is going to be the most fascinating election year in our nation's history. I suspect it could be. And next year looks like it's going to be, unfortunately, just as exciting. So that's where we're at. I'm going to say goodbye to you right now. Hi, John. I'm glad you're here. Please do us a favor. Share this podcast. It helps us get our message out. And as we talk more and more about the Contract for Rural America, which is a game plan to go forward to heal the divide between rural and urban America and between dealing with the inequality that we deal with. You know, I was thinking about that. In fact, there's something else we have to talk about, and that is more about the Confederate flag. In Owensboro this week, they're having discussions about getting rid of the statue that's right in the center of town. It's in the green in the center of town in front of the government buildings. And it's a Confederate soldier. I believe in Indianapolis this week they might have gotten rid of one of their Confederate monuments. Our governor, Andy Beshear, is working to get rid of the statue of Jefferson Davis that's in the rotunda in the Capitol. So bit by bit this is going on. We're getting rid of these symbols of the Confederacy. Now, not all Americans are happy about that. Hi, David. Hi, John. Good to have you here. Not all Americans are happy about that. In fact, when I posted something about this, it starts some big arguments. It's our history. You're right, it's our history, but that doesn't mean it needs to be in our capital. The Confederate flag has now been banned at NASCAR. And I posited the idea of, John, not sure that I'm seeing your posts, but I'll take the time to go look at them. And feel free to comment here. By the way, I got to sneeze, everybody. Sorry, it's coming. Well, maybe not. Is there anything worse than a sneeze that's denied? There's going to be some city in the United States that holds on to the last minute, and they will be the last American city to have a Confederate monument before they finally remove it. And I certainly hope it won't be Owensboro, but there's a lot of discussion going on in the city of Owensboro. This is part of our past. But we have got to stop glorifying the Confederacy. We've got to stop that. And it's time. You know, we have a nation that has a population that includes the descendants of former slaves. And they are now our brothers and sisters. And enough of glorifying, hi May, how are you? Enough of glorifying the Confederacy. Enough of having these monuments to the Confederacy in our public square. You know, it seems there are more monuments to Confederate generals and soldiers than there are to the Union. So let's get rid of that. And the way our country is moving right now, you know, something like 70% of us support the idea that Black Lives Matter. The idea that, of course, we want all lives to matter. We want all lives to matter, but all lives cannot matter until Black Lives Matter. That's the big point. So I hope you have a great weekend. And I want to show you, you know, I'm off now. I'm not going to be doing any broadcasts or any Facebook Live until this coming Monday. And you'll notice here I am in my my dress shirt, and I've got my pin showing that I'm running for Congress. But what you don't see, and I'm wearing typical Zoom attire, I'm not in my shorts, but I am in my bathing suit. So I'm getting ready to go out on the water. I'm getting ready to go out and enjoy myself a little bit. I hope you all have a great weekend. I'm so glad that you're here. Hi, Cheryl. Please share this. Let's get our numbers. We got a lot of work to do, folks. If we're going to change our country and if we're going to be part of that change, and getting involved is the best way to do it. You can help our campaign. You can go to hankforkentucky.com. Roy, thanks for being here. Barbara, thank you. You can go to hankforkentucky.com and contribute. We're about to launch a brand new website, and so that'll be in about a week. And I wanted to let you know, one of the people that's helping me is from one of the bands. Hi, Alexandra, how are you? Hi, Debbie. One of the people that's helping me is Rich Campbell from the group America. You remember the band America? And that's a band that I've worked with quite a bit. Hi, Carrie, how are you? And so we're going to have a new website very soon, thanks to Rich Campbell. I hope that's okay that I say that. I love you all. I'll see you. I'm going to go out on the water. Let's have a great weekend, and let's see what David says. The flags and statues should be in museums. We won't forget how we got there. I agree. All right. Have a great weekend. I love you. See you Monday. All right. Take care of yourselves.